with the book that you want to write, you want to get it into as many hands as possible, right? In this episode, I am covering one of the biggest rookie mistakes that will cost you to leave thousands of dollars on the table and potentially hundreds of copies of your book, all right? Tune in, listen, grab all the things that you do to take notes, like pen, paper, digital thing. Let's get you to the money that is left on the table, because that is not an option in this day and age, all right? We know that the story you have in you is transformational, and you want to get it out to as many people as possible. And a lot of first-time authors, what they'll do is they'll write their book, they'll put it on Amazon because it's very easy to do, and then they'll hope for more sales. That's not how that works, okay? I'm going to show you in this episode how you can get it out to hundreds more people, maybe even thousands. So tune in. Welcome to this week's episode of The Activated Author. I'm your host, Melissa T, the Procrastination Bully, and your hashtag author bestie. Now, my book is coming out pretty soon, the Pain to Prose Playbook, and this is a part of it. One of the things I teach is author marketing, because it is by far one of the biggest challenges for first-time authors. So in this week's episode, I want to talk to you about something that is highly important, which is bulk pre-orders, okay? Pre-orders are important in general, but a lot of folks don't necessarily talk about bulk pre-orders and how to get them. Like, we understand at a general level that they're important, that they're an option, but a lot of first-time authors will hear that and be like, how? Like, what you talking about, Willis? How do I do this? How do I get this? Okay? And omitting this from your author marketing strategy is the rookie mistake. So when you don't do this, there's far less demand for your book. And of course, numbers make all the difference, especially if you're choosing to go wide with your book. If you're not only publishing on Amazon KDP, maybe you also want to publish on some other platforms like Draft to Digital or Publish Drive or a couple of the other ones. There are plenty of other self-publishing distribution companies. Go back to episode 90. And I'll make sure to link it at the end, by the way, so that you can jump to that and see the different distribution options for you if you want to publish wide with your book, okay? But in those distribution models, there are entities that count the amount of books that are sold. They scan those different purchases through the distribution platforms, such as a Barnes & Noble or an Amazon or on Google Books or Apple Books, things like that. Those purchases are scanned and quantified, which is what leads to the different national bestseller lists. So if that's one of your goals, then bulk pre-orders are definitely a must-have for your strategy, okay? So let's make sure you don't make this rookie mistake. I'm going to walk you through 4 different entities that you'll be able to utilize this bulk pre-order strategy with, starting with schools. If your book is targeting young folks or can be applied to them, maybe the principles in your book are more universal and can be applied to students, such as the gentleman David Nesbitt Jr., who was on my live last Thursday. His is a book on accountability, and he's targeting young men. So his book can reach young men in college, like fully grown men, or young men that are in high school. And he intends to reach out to schools to be able to pitch his book so they can order his book in bulk, okay? So let's talk about how you can arrange to have your books pre-ordered in bulk through schools. With schools, you can position your book around a curriculum tie-in. Like if it's something relevant to their existing curriculum, your book can be a part of that. You can pitch something like that. Now, the people you would speak to, because this is important, you'll want to target curriculum coordinators, school counselors, SEL program directors, SEL meaning social emotional learning program directors, PTA leadership, and book clubs. PTA, of course, Parent Teacher Association leadership and book clubs, okay? So you can pitch your idea, your book, as sort of a tie-in, and then they'll bring you in to speak, maybe an author discussion or like an assembly thing where all the students come to hear you speak, and tie in that assembly with that bulk order. And as Dr. Eric Thomas will tell you, because he's done something like this, build your own supplementary curriculum around your book. Make it its own program, because school superintendents will want to hear about that. Because, of course, school districts have funding for extracurricular programs. So if it's just you coming in to speak or just you selling your book, that wouldn't be enough. But if you package it as a program with its own curriculum, its own rubric, they can allocate funding for that. Obviously, you've got to pitch them, and it has to speak to them in a way that's going to resonate with them, in a way that will be a fit for their school. But that is the approach when you're dealing with schools. All right. Time your outreach to these schools to the budget planning season. In a lot of the districts, that's in spring before the next school year. So we're in 2026. That would have been spring of 2026 as they planned for school to open up in the fall, right? So kind of time it for that. Wherever you are, research that locally though. Like, do your homework in terms of your local school districts and find out when the budgetary planning happens, all right? And then find out when they finalize the following year's curriculum and their library budgets. And then you can reach out to those people that I talked about before: curriculum coordinators, school counselors, social emotional learning program directors, parent teacher association leadership, and book clubs, like school book clubs, okay? So that's with schools. That is how you can package your book for bulk pre-orders with schools. The next entity option is organizations and associations. So perhaps schools, maybe your target reader is not of school age. Maybe your target reader is fully adult, right? So if you're aiming for organizations and associations, you can target their directors. You can target professional associations, veteran organizations, if that applies to you. I know that's definitely a fit for me because I'm a veteran. Writing and publishing guilds, there are plenty of them. Literary societies, those are options. And then, of course, community and civic groups. So ask your AI tool to search all of that locally for you. A lot of what I'm telling you with these bulk pre-orders is going to be local. And that's going to be the difference maker, because each yes that you do get will build. And then once you go bigger with some of these other organizations, maybe out of your state, maybe in your general region, if they see the amount of other programs that have said yes to you or different entities that have said yes to you, then that's going to lend credibility to make them sooner say yes to you. All right. So the concentration of this approach, this strategy, will be local. So yeah, research professional organizations, associations, veteran organizations, if that applies to you. If your target reader is a specific gender, in my case, I typically speak to women who've navigated a trauma or transition, and how they can find healing through writing and publishing their first book and using that book as their tool for transformation for other people, right? So I'm going to speak to women-centered organizations, domestic violence support groups, different recovery entities, since healing through writing is an important part of the recovery process. Okay, so think about what that would look like for you based on the topic you want to cover or are covering in the book that you're working on, if you've already started. All right. Now, you can offer the book as a member benefit, or if this entity hosts a conference and you can pitch the book to be included in the swag bag. That's something I do every single year for the author activation weekend. Like, I'll reach out to fellow authors or subject matter experts. A great example of this was Dana M. Bell. She's a licensed therapist. I've had her here on the show before. She was generous enough. I talked to her, and she was generous enough to contribute her book as a swag bag item. So everybody, all the participants, came away with her 30-day guide. Okay. So that's something you can offer organizations. You can pitch yourself as a keynote or workshop speaker for them, with the bulk book purchase. Okay. So that's something you can do. And Brandon B. Burns, who's one of the coaches and he was one of our speakers, he talked about that, which the term is book in lieu of fee, basically. So instead of them paying you a speaking fee, some organizations can do both. They can pay you to speak and order your book. There are some that do that. But in the event that you're reaching out to an organization with a smaller budget, you can do something like that, like bulk orders in lieu of them paying you a fee to speak. So you show up, you do a presentation, either a keynote or a workshop, and instead of paying you directly to speak, they can agree to bulk order copies of your book for the members of their organization. Okay. You can create tier group discounts, and you can create a discount sheet that shows that so they can take a look at it and give you feedback based on that. You can do, 10 plus or 50 plus or 100 plus copies, like in those staggered tiers, and make sure that the sheet is something that's easy to email, that they will be able to take a look at it, see what's a good fit for them, and reach out to you with a yes or a no. And when you do it in tiers like that, it makes it easier for them to say yes. You take some of the strain away. You make it easier for them. And for this, in terms of relevance, time this outreach around the non-traditional holiday calendar. If you've never heard me mention that before, the non-traditional holiday calendar is something you can easily Google, but it's basically holidays that are not on your regular calendar that were created specifically for the sake of capitalism, okay? If you've ever heard of National Donut Day, National Hamburger Day, if you're familiar with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, if you're familiar with Autism Awareness Day or Autism Awareness Month, I believe. If you're familiar with several of the different cultural heritage months, you've got Haitian American Heritage Month or Caribbean American Heritage Month. You've got Indigenous Peoples, Day, or there's a Asian and Pacific Islander Awareness Month. All of these are non-traditional occasions, and they're all on the non-traditional holiday calendar. So either through your AI tool or just a regular Google search, look up the non-traditional calendar for 2026 and take a look at the holidays and see which ones are relevant to you and the topic that you want to cover or the transformation that you want to offer through your book, and tie those in and then connect those with the organizations. You'll ask your AI tool to do this for you. Okay. So you tell your AI tool what your topic is that your book is going to cover, or the transformation that you're offering through your book. Ask it to cross-reference the non-traditional holiday calendar for the year and cross-reference it with all of the relevant organizations and associations that your target reader would be connected to with that calendar, and come up with a strategy to pitch those organizations. Your AI tool can do that for you. Okay. So that's organizations and associations. The first one was schools. This one was organizations and associations. The next one, nonprofits. Nonprofits move a bit differently than your for-profit organizations or associations. Now, nonprofits are far more focused and more purposeful because, of course, with nonprofits, they got to report everything that they're doing. So depending on the context for your book, I'm using mine as an example: domestic violence shelters, trauma recovery centers, veteran support nonprofits, in my case, women's empowerment nonprofits. These are examples of nonprofits that I would target. So if you need to ask your AI tool for that first before you go into the non-traditional calendar prompt that I just gave you, you can ask your AI tool to do that first. When you let your AI tool know what transformation you want to offer your target reader, ask it, okay, what kind of nonprofit organizations do my target reader participate in or volunteer for or care deeply about? List those organizations for me. And then now you can give it that list back and say, okay, given the non-traditional holiday calendar, how can I pitch these organizations? Give me a strategy for that. All right. So you want to offer a cause marketing angle with your book, of course. A portion of the proceeds that you sell for your book back to the organization. They'll appreciate that. They'll feel invested. Plus, that also doubles as incentive for your reader. Given the prompt I just shared, asking the AI tool what nonprofit organizations your target reader volunteers with or deeply cares about. If you're doing a promotion and letting your reader know, hey, proceeds from the purchase of this book will go to this organization, they'll be far more likely to purchase it. A great example of this is someone like Tony Robbins. A lot of the challenges that he does, they're paid challenges, but he'll usually disclose that, hey, proceeds from this challenge is going to Feeding America or Second Harvest, because one of the greatest causes for him is eliminating hunger in the US. So a lot of the proceeds from the things that he produces will go towards that cause. And obviously, that's a huge cause for anybody to want to join in on. So a lot of people very willingly invest in his programs for that, like knowing that they're making a difference towards ending hunger in the US. Okay. So that's an example. So when you're doing your thing, position it for that. Now, the next thing you want to do is position your book as a client resource. Okay. So many nonprofits, they have small budgets and they're earmarked specifically for client facing educational materials. So make sure that your book is something that their clients, their members will directly benefit from. Okay. Make sure that your book is solving a problem that they face or causing a transformation for them, something that's going to be beneficial. And of course, take a look at organizations that have grant funding, because the ones that have grant funding, they likely have a specific program or initiative that they're running that's connected to that grant. So if your book ties into the grant funding or the initiative that's connected to that grant funding, then that will be a much easier yes, compared to you simply approaching an organization cold and just pitching them. Like, when you can tie it into something that they're working on and something that will get them to their goal faster for their clients or their members, they're far more likely to respond to your pitch or to your idea. Okay. Another option is to offer a co-branded partnership where the nonprofit leadership contributes a short forward in your book or some kind of endorsement in exchange for a bulk commitment, for a bulk pre-order. Entity number 4 now, and this is where the money resides: corporate clients. So with this, you'll want to target corporations that have employee wellness programs, learning and development departments, or like R&D, professional development budgets, and general employee resource groups, right? And resource groups are those groups that are voluntary and they focus on literally the development of the employees. They're focusing on training their employees, either in personal development or in skill development. Those still exist. Though corporations still have those things, okay? So you'll want to take a look at those particular departments within corporations to pitch to. And the better place to look for this is on LinkedIn. So you're looking for companies that offer these things, employee wellness programs or learning and development programs, that kind of thing. And then find the people that head up those departments or programs. And they'll usually put it in their description. So if you do a search on LinkedIn, it'll list people that are relevant to your search, okay, that you can reach out to. Here's how you can be sure to get more success with this. Avoid framing your book as a DEI anything, because a lot of corporations have now cut that. So frame it more towards employee resource. Lead with a universal framing, either employee wellness, employee resilience, leadership development, or professional growth. All right. Themes that serve every employee. And let me tell you something, the priorities that corporations have are: how can you reduce our employee turnover? How can you help us make more money? Or how can you help us save time? Those are the highest priorities in any corporation. Decrease employee turnover, make them more money, help them save time, or simplify a process, simplify an existing process. Those are the priorities. So if the transformation in your book ties into any one of those priorities, that increases your chances of a yes for a bulk pre-order with a corporation. Okay. And obviously, once again, you would do this with a bundle. So it's not just you pitching the corporation to buy bulk copies of your book. It's for them to bring you in and ideally for you to develop a program, because there are plenty of speakers. I've had a couple on my show, including Lisa A. Smith, who is or was a vegan health coach. She has now pivoted to teaching about chronic stress, which that she made that pivot based on what she learned, like the corporate feedback that she's gotten from the different corporate gigs. Initially, she was getting booked to speak on the health side of things and tying in the stress element, because of course health is a very big component of that. Like you have to be properly nourished in order to reduce the amount of stress, but also the environment, making sure that you're in a stress-free environment to make sure your employees are working better, right? She pivoted to chronic stress so that she could develop a long-term program with these corporate clients so that she can return on a more frequent basis, and so that the contracts can be bigger in terms of the revenue that her company would bring in. So for your book, when you're doing bundles for these corporations, you want to present a program, something that is long term, not just necessarily a one time keynote, or maybe start with a one time keynote. Or if you're like me and you're more of a teacher, perhaps a workshop one time, blow their socks off, but go prepared to offer a program. So when the workshop is done or the keynote talk is done, and the event coordinator comes to you and is gushing like, "Oh, you did such a great job," you have your program already ready to talk to them. Like, "Oh, I'm glad you said that. I have an opportunity for us to go further or to work deeper with the employees if you're interested." And that way you can get into that with them. All right. Target companies with active wellness or L&D initiatives, all right? Learning and development, that's what L&D is, rather than specifically searching for employee resource groups, because not every corporation has them anymore, okay? So make sure you're targeting companies that are conscious, companies that do value the development of their employees or employee longevity, companies that have a cause. Like, those are probably the lowest hanging fruit. Look for corporations that line up with the same causes that your target reader supports. Okay. And take a look at those. All right. The time for outreach with corporations is during Q4 or Q1, meaning quarter, first quarter or fourth quarter budget cycles, when training and wellness budgets are the freshest. All right. So talk to them around then, where they're coming up with their budgets, because then they're more likely to fit you in there. They're more likely to pencil you in. All right. Now, this was a lot, so I'm going to do a quick recap in terms of the four entities to consider for bulk pre-orders of your book: schools, organizations and associations, nonprofits, and corporations. Okay. And when you're crafting your pitch, make sure you design a program around what you're doing. Do it as a bundle. Don't just pitch for them to buy copies of your book or just for them to bring you in as a speaker. That may not be enough, especially not with schools. School budgets don't prioritize speakers. School budgets will prioritize a curriculum, though. If you have an extracurricular program, like something where there's a workbook to go with what you're going to talk about, or the workshop that you're teaching, they'll support that. Like, they have that kind of thing in their budgets. With the nonprofits, look up nonprofit organizations that have grant funding or are running grant initiatives, because they usually have to develop a program to win the grant funding. So you'll want to prioritize that with the nonprofits. With the organizations and associations, make sure that when you do your talk, whether it's a workshop or a keynote, make sure you're bundling the orders of the book as a means for them to get copies of it to their members, and make sure that the transformation you're offering in your book is relevant to their members. Okay. And then one other quick mention with the nonprofits, just a reminder here, you can also exchange like a mention in the foreword. Like, if you have the director of the nonprofit organization or a relevant member of the leadership do the foreword to your book, that one lends credibility to your book, because now a nonprofit voice is in it. but they now are invested because they're going to be included in it. They're going to want the copies of it because they're in it. So be sure to include that in your approach with the nonprofits. And then again, just a quick recap for the corporate clients, create a long-term program and have that ready. First, you're going to pitch your one-time thing because they want to sample you first, right? Pitch your one-time workshop or keynote that's relevant to their employees, and look for companies that prioritize learning and development, corporations that have employee resource groups. Not all of them do, but check for corporations that have them. And then you're pitching them during their budgetary cycles, usually Q1 or Q4, something like that. Okay. This was a lot, so I got you. Run the episode back as many times as you need to. And if you want, I can get you the PDF for this. Just comment PDF in the comments, all right? And I will shoot you a link for you to be able to download this. Now, the reason I wanted to go over this with you is that these bestseller lists are very meticulous, and long time ago figured out people trying to game the system to land on their lists. So instead of just the one entity bulk ordering 100 copies, but it's the one business that's doing that, the lists are like, nope, we're counting that as one purchase. Even though it's a corporation that ordered 100 copies of your book, nope, that counts as one purchase. So what will need to happen is provide the corporation or the people responsible for making the purchases of your book with multiple links for where they can pre-order the book. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all these different entities for wide distribution. Again, don't worry, I'll put the link for the video where I list all those distribution options at the end of the video. All right. But you'll want to make those options available to these different leaders, whether in a corporation, in a nonprofit, in an association, or on a school, either on a school board or as part of a particular school itself, whether that's the principal or, people in leadership at the school. You want to give them different options so that those orders can be individual or as close to individual as possible, because that's what the book scan entities are going to count, so that you have more books sold. And anything that is pre-ordered, the beauty about pre-orders is that all of them count towards your first week of launch. All of those pre-orders count towards your first 7 days. So bulk pre-orders are definitely a strategy you want to include if your goal is to sell thousands of copies of your book and land on the bestseller lists. Bulk pre-orders, that's going to be a must-have in your author strategy. And even if you're not necessarily trying to land on the lists, take this strategy with you so you don't leave any money on the table. I don't gatekeep at all. Like, I want to make sure you win in as abundant a way as possible. Okay? This is Melissa T, the Procrastination Bully, and your hashtag author bestie. All right? I want to make sure you get it and get your transformation to as many people as possible too. Even if you're more altruistic like myself and you want the transformation more than you particularly care about the revenue, to me, prioritize both, okay? But if you're more altruistic, the more people you can help, the better. And this strategy will help, all right? The other thing that I would love to share with you, this opportunity, I've got the Truth to Transformation Book Bootcamp coming up again in September. So if you're interested, if you're working on a book, you've got a book idea, or you're like, I don't know what to write about, but I am curious, like I feel like I have a book in me, or other people have told me I have a book in me, this next bootcamp is your opportunity to get that book written in 21 days. And yes, it is possible to write a book in 21 days. And I will walk you through the process step by step. All right. So if you're interested, go to bootcamp.melissathomas.co/sign up. All right. bootcamp.melissathomas.co/sign up. To sign up for the Truth to Transformation Bootcamp, it's 21 days at 30 minutes a day. Bite-sized tasks. You can fit it in your busy schedule within all the cracks of the week. And it is possible to get it done in 21 days. So if you're interested, sign up there. I look forward to joining you and having you join the community. We've got some incredible people in our community making things happen. If you didn't watch the live last week, David Nesbitt Jr., who's a member of the community. His book is now out. He was a one-on-one coaching client of mine. In 7 months, here we are. His book is now fully published. But we've had folks in the boot camp as well as people who have attended the author activation weekend, and their books are almost ready. So if you're ready for something like that in 21 days, let's get it. bootcamp.melissathomas.co/sign up. We don't want you leaving any money on the table, all right? Especially as of this recording, you can't afford to do that anyway. So let's make sure you have hundreds or even thousands of people. But in the meantime, between time, make sure that you have a great rest of your Wednesday and a great rest of your week. Make sure you tune in to this video that is popping up somewhere to watch episode 90 of the podcast, where I talk about that broad distribution for your book beyond Amazon KDP. Take care.